Have you ever wondered why Surah Ikhlas, though so short, carries the weight of 1/3 of the Qur'an? Why is it that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, called it a doorway to paradise, and why the great Sufi master Ibn Arabi described it as a treasure chest of divine secrets? Most people recite it quickly, almost without thought. But hidden within this surah are 7 miraculous signs that can transform your life. Signs that bring forgiveness, protection, answered prayers, light in the grave, and blessings you cannot imagine. Stay with me, because as we uncover each of these 7 secrets, you will never look at Surah Ikhlas the same way again. By the end of this journey, you will hold in your heart a key that can unlock miracles, both in this life and in the next. When you recite Surah Ikhlas with sincerity, you place yourself under the divine shelter of Allah's ownness. It is not just words flowing from your tongue. It is a shield being woven around you. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said that whoever recites this surah regularly gains Allah's special protection. Ibn Arabi explains that the one who affirms Allah is one is wrapped in the cloak of unity, and unity cannot be broken by any enemy seen or unseen. Think about it. The world is full of hidden dangers, jealousy in hearts, envy in eyes, whispers of shaitan, and even the plots of people who wish you harm. Yet, a believer who lives with the constant remembrance of Surah Ikhlas becomes untouchable in a way that defies human logic. Harm may try to approach, but it is turned away before it reaches you. Doors that could bring loss are quietly closed, while doors of safety are gently opened. The Sufis teach that this protection is not only physical, it extends to your soul, your faith, and even your inner peace. When you recite Surah Ikhlas, you are affirming that no force in creation has power except Allah. This awareness breaks fear inside you and plants unshakable trust. That is the greatest protection of all. When the heart is no longer enslaved by fear of people, situations, or the future, because it rests securely in the hand of Allah. One of the most beautiful signs of reciting Surah Ikhlas is the mysterious way in which it brings barakah into your life. Rizq is not just money. It is everything you need to live and to grow: food, health, knowledge, relationships, peace of mind, even unexpected opportunities. Ibn Arabi teaches that when you recite Allah is Samad, Allah, the one upon whom all depend, you are surrendering your needs to the only one who can truly provide. Think of it this way. The world often makes us believe that our rizq comes from people, jobs, or circumstances. But every heart that recites Surah Ikhlas with conviction is reminded that provision does not flow from creation. It flows from the Creator. You may see the world as a chain of causes, but the believer who clings to Ikhlas sees beyond the chain to the source. And then something remarkable begins to happen. Doors of sustenance open from places you never expected. A business that was failing suddenly revives. Help arrives at the exact moment you felt you could not go on. A heart at peace is given contentment with little, and little becomes enough. This is not coincidence. This is the hidden miracle of Ikhlas. When you affirm Allah as the eternal provider, He provides in ways the world cannot explain. Surah Ikhlas is like a pure stream of water that washes away the dirt of the soul. Every time you recite it with sincerity, it cleanses the heart from the stains of sin. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that whoever recites Surah Ikhlas sincerely will find Allah's forgiveness. Ibn Arabi, the great Sufi master, explained that this forgiveness flows from the very essence of the surah. When you affirm the oneness of Allah, you are returning to the truth of your creation. Sins are born when the heart becomes distracted from this truth, when it attaches itself to the world, to desires, to forgetfulness. But the moment you declare, Qul huwa Allahu ahad, Say, He is Allah the One. The heart is realigned with its true center. And when the heart turns back to Allah, forgiveness follows like light chasing away the darkness. Think about it. Every day we stumble. We speak words we should not speak. We let anger or pride control us. We fall into negligence. These mistakes pile up like dust covering a mirror. Over time, the soul's brightness is hidden. But Surah Ikhlas is the cloth that wipes that mirror clean. Each recitation removes layer after layer, until the soul shines again with the purity Allah created it with. This forgiveness is not only for the past. Ibn Arabi says that Surah Ikhlas transforms the heart so that it resists future sins as well. It strengthens your inner light, making it harder for darkness to return. In this way, the surah is both a cleanser and a shield. The more you recite it with sincerity, the more your soul is freed from the weight of sin and drawn closer to the endless mercy of Allah. Surah Ikhlas is not only a shield for protection or a light for forgiveness, it is also a ladder that lifts the believer higher and higher on the spiritual path. Every time you recite it with sincerity, you are not just repeating words, you are stepping closer to Allah. The more your heart absorbs its meaning, the more your soul rises until you begin to taste a sweetness that only those who walk the path of love and truth can understand. Our beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said that Surah Ikhlas is equal to 1/3 of the Qur'an. Imagine the weight of that statement. The Qur'an is vast, full of stories, commands, guidance, laws, and secrets of creation. Yet, this short surah, with only a few lines, carries a weight equal to 1/3 of the entire book. This means it is not simply about memorizing or reciting it quickly. It is about uncovering the depths of its meaning. Ibn Arabi, the great Sufi master, explained that Surah Ikhlas is a mirror of divine unity. It affirms the eternal truth. Allah is one, beyond comparison, self-sufficient, uncreated, and unlike anything in existence. To the ordinary believer, this may sound like simple theology, but to the seeker of truth, it is a door to the inner world, a key to realities hidden from ordinary sight. When the seeker recites Surah Ikhlas with presence, something begins to change. The soul tastes certainty. Doubts that once clouded the mind begin to dissolve. Fears that once controlled the heart begin to weaken. This is the beginning of elevation, the lifting of the veil of forgetfulness. Ibn Arabi often spoke of the stations of the traveler on the path to Allah. At each station, the seeker sheds illusions and takes on new lights. Surah Ikhlas, recited with depth, pushes the soul from station to station until it begins to reflect the light of Tawheed itself. Think of a mountain climber. At the bottom, the air is thick, the vision is narrow, and the horizon is hidden. As the climber ascends, the air becomes clearer, the sight wider, and the view more breathtaking. Similarly, the soul that ascends through Surah Ikhlas begins to see life differently. At first, the world appears as a series of separate events, random and scattered, but as the recitation deepens, the seeker realizes that everything flows from the One, and everything returns to the One. This vision transforms how you live, how you pray, how you deal with others, and how you understand yourself. The elevation granted by Surah Ikhlas is not about pride or rank among people. True spiritual elevation has nothing to do with status in the eyes of the world. In fact, the higher the soul rises, the humbler the person becomes. The seeker begins to see that all power, all beauty, all knowledge, all life belongs to Allah alone. The ego shrinks, the heart softens, and humility becomes natural. The elevated soul does not boast of closeness to Allah. It hides it like a secret jewel because it knows the jewel belongs to Allah, not to itself. Ibn Arabi also taught that the elevation of rank through Surah Ikhlas is not limited to this world. It extends into the grave. into the day of judgment, and into eternity. Imagine standing before Allah on the day of reckoning, when every soul trembles in fear. The one who carried Surah Ikhlas in his heart will stand with a light that others do not have. That light is the mark of elevation, a testimony that this soul lived by Tawheed and surrendered to the One. But how does this elevation happen in practice? It happens when you move beyond the surface of the words. Anyone can recite, say He is Allah the One, but when you recite it with awareness, with heart, you begin to taste what it means. You begin to feel that there is no true refuge except Him. You begin to see that everything else is temporary, passing, and weak. The illusions of power, wealth, and fame lose their grip. The heart that clings to Allah's ownness cannot be deceived by the glitter of the world. That heart is elevated above the games of this life. Sufi masters often gave examples to their students. They said the ordinary believer recites Surah Ikhlas as a duty, but the seeker recites it as if pouring their heart into a fire of love. Each word burns away a layer of illusion. Each word pulls them higher, until, in time, the seeker realizes that the surah is not simply being recited by them, it is being recited through them. They become an instrument of Tawheed, a witness of oneness. This is the elevation when the self dissolves into the remembrance of Allah. Elevation through Surah Ikhlas also brings peace. The one who is lifted closer to Allah does not panic at the storms of life. Loss, hardship, and trials still come, but the elevated soul sees them differently. They see trials as part of the divine plan. They see difficulties as hidden gifts. And because of this, they carry a calmness that others cannot understand. People may look at them and wonder, how can they smile in such difficulty? How can they remain steady when the world is shaking? The answer is simple. Their soul is elevated above the storm, anchored in the oneness of Allah. This is the miracle of Surah Ikhlas. It lifts you from the prison of the self to the freedom of oneness. It takes you from being trapped in the opinions of people to being satisfied with the gaze of Allah. It takes you from fear of tomorrow to trust in the eternal, and each time you recite it, you climb a little higher, see a little clearer, and love a little deeper. My dear brothers and sisters, if you truly want your soul to rise, make Surah Ikhlas your companion. Do not recite it in haste, as if it were a ritual to check off. Sit with it, feel it, let its truth sink into your heart. Recite it until you feel its light flowing through your veins. And as you do, know that every word is lifting you higher, carrying you closer to the one who has no equal, no partner, no limit, and no end. This is the elevation of spiritual rank, a journey not upwards in space, but inwards into the reality of the soul, a journey where every step, every breath, every recitation brings you nearer to Allah, and in the end, there is no greater rank than this, to be a servant of the One, living in His love, dying in His love, and rising in His love for all eternity. The human heart is a fragile vessel. It carries joy and love, but it also carries wounds, wounds from pain, betrayal, disappointment, and loss. Every soul at some point feels heavy, restless, or broken, and in these moments, when doctors cannot heal and the world cannot comfort, the Qur'an becomes medicine. Among its most powerful remedies is Surah Ikhlas. This surah is short, yet its rhythm and meaning penetrate deeper than the mind can measure. Reciting it is like pouring cool water on a burning fire inside the chest. Ibn Arabi explained that Surah Ikhlas heals because it reconnects the heart to its true center, Allah, the One. When the heart remembers its source, it is no longer restless. The soul was created to know Allah, and when it strays from Him, it aches. Surah Ikhlas is the return, the gentle hand that guides the heart back home. Think of the words, Qul huwa Allahu ahad. Say He is Allah the One. This single line has the power to soothe the storm inside the soul. Why? Because most of our inner pain comes from division. The heart is torn between desires, fears, regrets, and attachments. It feels pulled in many directions at once. But when you recite Ikhlas, you declare that there is only one center, one anchor, one reality. The scattered pieces of the self begin to gather, and unity returns to the heart. That unity is healing. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us that the Qur'an is a cure. Ibn Arabi adds that this cure is not only for physical illness, but for spiritual wounds, the kind that cannot be seen but can be felt deeply. How many people walk around smiling, yet inside they are full of sorrow, anxiety, or emptiness? How many souls are burdened by guilt or weighed down by despair? Surah Ikhlas enters these hidden chambers of the heart and brings light where there was darkness. Let us reflect. Many of our wounds come from placing our trust in creation rather than the Creator. We love someone and they hurt us. We expect fairness, but we meet betrayal. We rely on wealth, but it disappears. Each time the heart breaks because it attached itself to what was temporary. Ibn Arabi says that true healing only comes when the heart is lifted from creation and anchored in the Creator. Surah Ikhlas is the anchor. By declaring that Allah is one, unlike anything, free of need and eternal, the heart stops chasing shadows and finally rests in the source of all peace. The healing power of Surah Ikhlas also works on fear and anxiety. Modern life has filled us with endless worries, fear of tomorrow, fear of losing what we have, fear of what others think. But when you recite Ikhlas and remind your soul that Allah is As-Samad, the one upon whom all depend, you remember that everything is already in His control. Anxiety begins to soften, because the heart understands it does not need to carry the weight of the world. Healing comes when the heart learns to let go and trust. Another form of healing is from guilt and shame. Many people live trapped by the mistakes of their past. They replay memories, regret words, and feel unworthy of Allah's love. But Surah Ikhlas whispers a different truth. Allah's mercy is greater than all mistakes. Each recitation is like a drop of light entering the heart, washing away the heaviness of guilt. Ibn Arabi said that the soul cannot walk towards Allah while chained by shame. Surah Ikhlas breaks those chains. By affirming the oneness of Allah, you affirm the oneness of His mercy, without limits, without conditions. This realization heals the deepest wounds. And then there is the healing of grief, losing loved ones, watching dreams collapse, facing loneliness. These are pains no human word can soothe, yet the rhythm of Ikhlas offers comfort. To say Allah is one is to remember that all things return to Him, and nothing is ever truly lost. The soul that recites Ikhlas in grief begins to feel that even separation is temporary, for the final reunion is with the one who unites all things. This perspective softens grief, turning it into patience, and patience into strength. Healing is also about inner harmony. Many people feel torn between who they are and who they want to be. They struggle with inner conflict, battling between light and darkness. Surah Ikhlas is like a tuning fork for the soul. It realigns the heart, harmonizing the inner self with the outer life. When the believer recites it regularly, their words, actions, and thoughts begin to match. The dissonance fades, and the person feels whole again. Ibn Arabi beautifully described this process. The one who recites Ikhlas with presence of heart becomes like a mirror reflecting the light of oneness. The cracks in the mirror are sealed, the stains are polished away, and the reflection shines pure. This is healing in its truest sense, not just relief from pain, but restoration to wholeness. Consider also the physical body. Science has now discovered that calmness, trust, and peace of heart can improve health, lower stress, and strengthen resilience. While the Qur'an is not a science book, its effects on the body cannot be denied. Reciting Surah Ikhlas slowly, with focus, can calm the nervous system, steady the breath, and bring tranquility to the mind. The healing of the soul often overflows into the body, because the body follows where the soul leads. My dear brothers and sisters, if your heart feels broken, restless, or heavy, do not ignore it. The world may offer distractions, but distractions do not heal. Sit in silence. Place your hand over your heart and recite Surah Ikhlas. Do it not with haste, but with sincerity. Feel the words, taste their meaning, and let them sink into your being. You will notice the difference, not instantly perhaps, but gradually, like dawn replacing the night. The light of healing will spread, softening the wounds, calming the storms, and reminding your heart that it was never alone. This is the gift of Surah Ikhlas, the healing of the heart and soul. It does not promise a life without pain, but it gives you the strength to carry pain without being broken by it. It does not erase sorrow, but it transforms sorrow into closeness to Allah. And when the soul is close to Allah, even wounds become doors through which His mercy enters. So heal yourself with this surah. Make it your daily companion. For every wound you carry, recite it once. For every tear, recite it twice. And for every burden, recite it until your heart whispers back, I am healed because I belong to the One. Every human being, no matter how powerful, wealthy, or beloved, will one day lie in the grave. It is the inevitable journey, the moment when the soul departs from this world and steps into the unseen. For many, the thought of the grave is frightening, the loneliness, the silence, the darkness. But Allah, out of His mercy, has given us keys of light to carry with us into that realm. One of the greatest of these keys is Surah Ikhlas. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught that Surah Ikhlas brings light in the grave. Ibn Arabi explained this in his writings. The surah is not merely words recited in this life, but a lamp that follows the soul into the next. Why? Because it is the declaration of Tawheed, the purest affirmation of Allah's oneness, and Tawheed is light. When you live by it, die with it, and recite it sincerely, that light stays with you even when the world forgets your name. Imagine for a moment the journey of the soul. The body is placed in the grave, the earth covers it, and the world above continues without you. In that silent chamber, no family sits with you, no friend comforts you, no wealth protects you. What remains is your faith, your deeds, and the remembrance you carried. If you filled your life with the recitation of Surah Ikhlas, its echo becomes your companion in the grave. The darkness of the soil is pierced with light, and what could have been terror becomes tranquility. Ibn Arabi described this light as the reflection of oneness upon the soul. He explained that when a believer declares Qul huwa Allahu ahad, say He is Allah the One again and again, that truth carves itself into the heart, and when death comes, the heart carries that engraving into eternity. The grave is dark for those who lived in heedlessness, but for the one who lived with the remembrance of oneness, the grave shines like a garden. This is not symbolic only. Many narrations tell us that the righteous will find their graves spacious and illuminated, while others will feel constriction and fear. What makes the difference? The state of the heart. Surah Ikhlas, recited with sincerity, prepares the heart for that moment. It teaches the soul to trust, to remember, to rest in Allah. So when the angels come to question, the believer answers with ease, because the words of Ikhlas were always alive on their tongue. Consider the words again. Allahu Samad. Allah, the eternal refuge. In this world, we often run to people, to wealth, to solutions for refuge. But in the grave, none of these remain. Only Allah is the refuge. The one who repeated this truth in life will find it natural to rely on Him in death. Their soul will not panic, for it has been trained to rest in Allah alone. This trust is itself a light, shining in the unseen realm, where nothing else matters. Ibn Arabi further explained that Surah Ikhlas grants not only light in the grave, but also elevation in the afterlife. He taught that on the day of judgment, when souls are gathered and fear overtakes creation, those who carried the light of Ikhlas will stand out. Their faces will shine, their records will be lifted, and their path across the Surat, the bridge over hellfire, will be illuminated. Why? Because Ikhlas is sincerity, and sincerity is the most beloved of qualities to Allah. The one who sincerely declared his oneness in this world will not be abandoned in the next. Think of it this way: the world today is full of distractions, illusions, and false gods. Money, fame, power, desires. Many hearts bow to these without realizing it. But the heart that clings to Surah Ikhlas is different. It refuses to worship anything but Allah. It lives with the truth that Allah is one, unique, without partner, without need. This heart is already living in light, so when it enters the grave, the transition is not to darkness, but to a continuation of light. The Sufis often gave an analogy. Imagine carrying a lantern through the night. If you walk with it faithfully, it will guide you through valleys and storms until dawn comes. Surah Ikhlas is such a lantern. It is short, simple, but filled with eternal power. Recited in life, it stays with you in death. Recited in the world, it shines in the barzakh. Recited with love, it becomes your lantern on the day when no other light will matter except the light Allah grants His servants. But the light of Surah Ikhlas is not given by mere habit. It is given by sincerity. Many people recite Qur'an as ritual, with lips moving but hearts absent. Such recitation is like carrying an unlit lamp. The form is there, but the light is missing. Ibn Arabi warned that true benefit comes when the heart is present. To recite Ikhlas with love, to reflect on its meaning, to let it shape your life, that is what ignites the lamp. That is what makes it a source of light in the grave. Now imagine the moment of resurrection. The earth gives up its dead. People rise in confusion. The sun burns close. Fear grips every heart. On that day, Allah promises that some faces will shine, while others will be darkened. The believer who lived by Surah Ikhlas will rise with light on the face and calmness in the heart. That light will guide them across the Surat and into paradise. Ibn Arabi called this the light of Tawheed, the greatest treasure a soul can carry. My dear brothers and sisters, every one of us is walking towards the grave, step by step, whether we realize it or not. The wealth you gather, the status you chase, the pleasures you enjoy, none of it will go down with you. But a surah as short as Ikhlas, recited with sincerity, will go down with you. It will stay when all else leaves. It will speak when no one else can speak. It will shine when all other lights are gone. So let Surah Ikhlas become your companion now, so it will not abandon you later. Recite it daily, not as a burden, but as a gift. Let its words enter your heart until they become part of your being. When you say Allah is one, feel it in your bones. When you say Allah the eternal refuge, trust it with your worries. When you declare He begets not, nor is He begotten, and none is like Him, let the chains of illusion fall away. Every time you recite, you are preparing your lantern for the grave, polishing it, brightening it, until the day it will shine for you when you need it most. And when you lie in that narrow space, wrapped in silence, know that the world has not abandoned you. your Lord has not abandoned you. The surah you carried with love will be with you, filling the dark with light and guiding you until you meet Allah, the One, the Eternal, the Merciful. Every believer carries within their heart unspoken desires, silent cries, and prayers, whispered in the stillness of the night. We raise our hands to the sky, saying, Ya Allah, help me. Ya Allah, forgive me. Ya Allah, provide for me. Some of these prayers are answered quickly, others are delayed, and some seem to remain suspended, as if the heavens are silent. This can weigh heavily on the heart. Yet the great Sufis, including Ibn Arabi, taught us that Surah Ikhlas is one of the most powerful keys for the acceptance of du'as. Why is this so? Because Surah Ikhlas is not simply a recitation. It is the essence of Tawheed, the declaration of Allah's absolute oneness. And when the heart affirms this oneness with sincerity, it aligns itself with the very source of all provision, mercy, and response. Allah does not turn away from the one who calls upon him while declaring his unity. In fact, he says in the Qur'an, "Call upon me, I will respond to you." The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, emphasized the immense value of Surah Ikhlas in prayer. He said that whoever recites it with sincerity, their love for it will draw them near to Allah, and their requests will not be rejected. Ibn Arabi expanded on this, teaching that Surah Ikhlas acts as a purifier of the heart before making dua. It wipes away the noise of attachment to worldly powers and reminds the supplicant there is no helper, no giver, no refuge, no provider except Allah. Imagine dua as an arrow shot into the heavens. If the arrow is weak, bent, or released without strength, it may fall back to earth. But Surah Ikhlas strengthens the bow of the heart. It straightens the arrow of sincerity. It gives power to the release, and thus the dua rises, cutting through the veils of heedlessness, reaching the throne of mercy. Ibn Arabi explained that most unanswered prayers are not rejected, they are veiled. The veil is our own lack of sincerity, our forgetfulness, or our divided trust. We ask Allah, but deep down we still rely on people, money, or effort. Surah Ikhlas removes this division. When you say Allahus Samad, Allah the Eternal Refuge, you are proclaiming that there is no other to turn to. Your heart is emptied of all false hopes, and your dua becomes pure. And a pure dua is irresistible. Think of the man who came to the Prophet, peace be upon him, and said, I love Surah Ikhlas. The Prophet replied, your love for it will enter you into paradise. Why? Because to love Surah Ikhlas is to love Allah's oneness. And when a person's heart beats with this love, their dua flows not from desperation alone, but from deep recognition of Allah's majesty. Such a dua is not thrown into the sky. It is carried by angels. Now reflect on your own life. How many times have you prayed for something and felt that it did not arrive? How many nights have you cried, wondering if Allah heard you? The truth is, He heard every word. The Sufis remind us that Allah's response comes in three forms. Sometimes He gives immediately. Sometimes He delays to give something greater, and sometimes He withholds, because what we ask would harm us. Surah Ikhlas trains the heart to trust in this wisdom. It removes the impatience that demands, why not now, Ya Allah, and replaces it with submission. So, you are one, you are eternal, you know best. When you recite Surah Ikhlas before or after your dua, you are essentially polishing the vessel of your request. Without polishing, the vessel may be rusted with ego, doubt, or worldly obsession. With polishing, the vessel shines, and Allah's mercy pours into it. Ibn Arabi called this the secret of oneness in supplication. It is not the length of the dua that matters most, nor the eloquence of the words. It is the alignment of the heart with Tawheed. Consider also the story of the man who used to lead prayer and would always recite Surah Ikhlas after another surah. When asked why, he said, "Because it describes my Lord and I love it." The Prophet, peace be upon him, said, "Tell him that Allah loves him." This love is the highest guarantee of accepted dua. For when Allah loves a servant, how can he leave their supplications unanswered? Let us bring this closer to everyday life. A mother cries for her child's safety. A man asks for relief from debt. A young woman prays for guidance in marriage. An old man prays for forgiveness before death. Each of these du'as may feel fragile, uncertain, small compared to the vastness of the universe. Yet when these prayers are wrapped in the cloak of Surah Ikhlas, they are lifted beyond their weakness. They are not small anymore, for they are tied to the greatest truth: Allah is one, eternal, without need. Ibn Arabi compared it to planting a seed. A seed placed in dry, neglected soil may struggle to grow, but a seed placed in fertile, nourished soil will flourish. Surah Ikhlas is the fertile soil of dua. It prepares the ground of the heart, removes the weeds of doubt, and allows the seed of supplication to take root, rise, and bear fruit. The acceptance of dua is not always visible in worldly terms. Sometimes you will see the fruit quickly, the debt lifted, the illness healed, the path opened. Other times, the fruit is hidden. A calamity avoided without you ever knowing, a sin forgiven silently, or a rank raised for you in the hereafter. Ibn Arabi insisted that the true believer never doubts Allah's response, even if they do not recognize its form, and Surah Ikhlas is the constant reminder of that trust. So, my brothers and sisters, let Surah Ikhlas become part of your du'as. When you ask Allah for anything, recite it first or last. When your heart feels restless, recite it until calmness descends. When your prayer feels heavy, recite it to make it light. Remember, your dua is not just words. It is the soul reaching out to its creator, and Surah Ikhlas ensures that this reaching is not scattered, but direct, powerful, and filled with the light of Tawheed. In the end, the acceptance of du'as through Surah Ikhlas is not about magic formulas. It is about sincerity, presence, and love. Allah responds not to lips alone, but to hearts. And when the heart beats with the truth of Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad, every prayer becomes a connection, every request becomes noble, and every answer, whether seen or unseen, becomes a gift of mercy. So now you know the 7 signs hidden within Surah Ikhlas, secrets that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, lived by, and wisdom that Sufi masters like Ibn Arabi carried in their hearts. This surah is not just a chapter to be recited. It is a key to forgiveness, protection, light, and answered prayers. But remember, its power is not in the tongue alone. Its miracles unfold when it is recited with sincerity, with presence, and with love for Allah, the One, the Eternal Refuge. Do not let a single day pass without Surah Ikhlas. Make it your companion in the morning when you rise, in the evening before you sleep, and in every prayer when your heart longs for closeness. The world may abandon you, wealth may fade, people may forget your name, but this surah will walk with you into the grave, shine for you in the darkness, and rise with you on the day of judgment. Hold on to it, live by it, and you will witness miracles in this life and eternal mercy in the next.